Thanks again, everyone, for taking the time to speak with us this evening. We always appreciate your feedback. And now with the start of the legislative meeting, thanks to everyone who is joining us here this evening, whether you are here in the auditorium or at CLL, or watching our news feed or live feed. We appreciate your continued support of our students and of Atlanta Public Schools as we continue to work together to ensure all of our students graduate ready for college and career. Before I ask Dr. Gostarfin to provide her official remarks, I wanted to share a few announcements of my own. We're going to switch things around today, and we're going to start with some recognitions. It is that time of the year when we recognize our student artists who compete in the PTA's Reflections program. Since 1969, more than 10 million students across the nation have taken part in this popular PTA program. The purpose of the program is to provide an opportunity for students to use their creative talents by expressing themselves through our own original works. Young artists may submit an entry in any of 6 arts areas. Only original works of art are accepted, and those areas are visual arts photography, literature, music composition, dance choreography, and film production. The 2018-2019 Reflections theme is Heroes Around Me. We are pleased to recognize the Atlanta Public Schools winners whose work are now being considered for honors at the state contest. As Ms. Sharon Page highlighted, those students' names are up on the screens right now, so let's give them a round of applause. Congratulations to all of those students. I invite everyone to go to the hallway after the meeting and review their art. Special shout out to Leslie Grant, Michelle Olympiadis, Erica Mitchell, and all of those board members who have supported the Atlanta Council PTA's Reflections contest. Next, I want to invite my colleague, Ishay Collins, to do this month's recognition of Page Turners Make Great Learners.
And join them. For this month's recognition, I am honored to recognize Page Turner Makes Great Learners. And many of you all may be familiar with her, may have seen her face, as she's a parent and launched this organization about 14 years ago based on the fact that her own daughter struggled to read. And so Fifi Handy, the founder of Page Turners Make Great Learners, is joining us tonight, and I'm just very honored to have worked with her over the years. If your child has come home, especially your middle school, your elementary middle school child has come home with books, and they said I received them from school, or there was a big readathon event, or Deerwood had a pajama viewing party where the children read books, or if your child attended, even had the opportunity to meet Jeff Kinney, the author of Diary of a Wimpy Kid series at South Atlanta High School. That was all coordinated and thanks to Fifi Handy for organizing that and her board with Page Turners Make Great Learners. And so I'm not going to take up much more time. She has done tons, and the organization has done tons of things for Atlanta Public Schools to promote literacy in our elementary schools, from Kimberly, Price, Slater, our high schools, Young Middle School. You can follow her on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, and see some of the amazing things that they're doing to promote literacy in our schools. And so I wanted to take the opportunity to recognize her for her great work, her vision, and also being a phenomenal fundraiser and have an amazing board that raise tons of money and get tons of donations to provide books to our to some of our struggling communities and our children, and to make sure they also go home with personal libraries. And so Fifi Handy and any of her board members, please join us to be recognized. Thank you. There she is. Hey, thank you.
All right, we'll.
Thank you so much, Isha Collins, for that recognition. Thank you so much to Fifi and the Page Turners family. Moving on to a couple announcements. February is Black History Month, which is a chance for the entire school district to explore and understand the role of African Americans in the history of our nation. Now, I know that folks are leaving the auditorium, but if they could be kind and keep down their voices as they move out of the auditorium, that'd be greatly appreciated. Tammy? All right. So February is Black History Month. We pay special recognition to men and women who have made great contributions to our community, both here and here in Atlanta and across the nation and the globe. These include such alumni from Atlanta Public Schools as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Charlene Hunter Galt, and Hamilton Holmes, who were the first African American students to attend the University of Georgia, singers Gladys Knight and Lena Horne, the former U.S. Health Secretary and founding dean of Morehouse School of Medicine, Dr. Louis Sullivan, former Atlanta Mayor Maynard H. Jackson, and our current mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms, entrepreneur Herman Russell, and basketball legend Walt Clyde Frazier, and many more. Throughout the month, our schools will augment their curricula with lessons and inspiring stories in and inspire stories. In addition, many schools have special events and programs planned for the month. I encourage everyone to check those out with their schools and support those efforts to recognize this important month. I also want to make sure that the board and everyone is aware that this week is National School Counseling Week, which is sponsored by the American School Counselor Association. For this year's celebration, the theme is School Counselors Providing Lessons for Life. We recognize the special contributions of our professional school counselors and the impacts that they make in our students' lives. We have 110 counselors in our traditional schools here in APS, and about another 30 who serve in our charter and partnership schools. As a school system, we have a unique charge and mission to prepare all of our students for college, career, and life. And we rely heavily upon our school counselors to ensure that our students achieve success as they stay mentally, spiritually, and motivationally healthy in a safe and secure learning environment. We should note that the team received a $90,000 grant this year from the Gates Foundation in an effort to implement strategies in our schools to help get our scholars to and through college. Most of the events for the week are planned at the school level, but the district will have a recognition and professional learning event on February 19th, which will also recognize the elementary, middle, and high school counselors of the year. I am pleased that we are giving special recognition to this vital part of our curriculum and staffing, and I hope that everyone gives our school counselors some love, not only this week, but throughout the entire year. Are there any school counselors in the house? Just checking. Oh, there we go. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much for your service and your work for our kids. We really appreciate you. With that, I will turn it over to Dr. Christarfin for her remarks.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, my remarks cover a recap of the work session. We'll highlight APS National Signing Day and our support to families by the partial federal shutdown, and we want to recognize those teachers whose projects were funded through Donors Choose. We heard 4 presentations earlier this afternoon. Angela King-Smith, along with our consultant, Alyssa Whitehead-Bust of Attuned Education Partners, joined the chair and the administration in presenting where we are on the conditions for excellent school strategy. And so that is summarized in the PowerPoint that was posted related to that. There's a lot of groundwork that still needs to happen, but it is the anchor document for the next 5-year strategic plan for Atlanta Public Schools. Our next presentation was by the Deputy Superintendent, David Jernigan, who gave us an update on our school turnaround strategy, including eligibility requirements for receiving turnaround support. He also gave us an update on the Mathematica evaluation of our turnaround strategy, and it found some positive results, but it also gave us some direction on how we can make additional real-time changes and improvements for students. We heard the proposal for change at Krim High School, West End Academy, and other non-traditional schools, which we'll bring forward to the board next month for consideration for action. In advance of that meeting, we have a couple of planned public hearings in the community, including one at 6 p.m. Tuesday, February 5th at Krim, and another at 6 p.m. Wednesday, February 27th at Tuskegee Airmen Global Academy. For our third presentation, Dr. Margaret McKenzie provided a thorough update of our programs involving English to speakers of other languages, or ESOL, dual language immersion, known as DL, and world languages. With more than 7% of our students coming from homes where English is not their primary language, and that number is growing, it is essential that we provide these services to serve those students. We also learned that APS is truly a leader in Georgia in terms of dual language immersion programs and providing exposure to world languages beginning in elementary school. Finally, our Chief Financial Officer, Lisa Bracken, provided a fiscal year 2019 financial update and an update on school activity funds and prepping us for fiscal year 2020 budget planning. So I want to thank everyone for all of their support in the work session earlier today. I'd also like to announce that APS will once again recognize National Signing Day. In the past years, National Signing Day was the first day a high school senior could sign a binding national letter of intent for college football with a school that is a member of the National Collegiate Athletic Association. Although the NCAA sanctioned sports support national signing programs, the college football version is by far the most recognized and widely covered. About half a dozen APS students took advantage of early signing opportunities in December, but our annual district-wide event will be held from 10 to 11:30 a.m. on Wednesday, February 6th at Thurl High School. On this day, our athletic department recognizes all senior student athletes in any sport who plans to sign or have already signed a national letter of intent to play collegiate sports. Congratulations in advance to all of our student athletes, and I also want to thank Jasper Jewell, our Director of Athletics, and his staff for making this event possible. As you all know, the federal shutdown over the past month has truly impacted the families of more than 800,000 federal employees who missed paychecks in January. Some even dipped into savings to make mortgage payments and rent payments and to continue to put food on the table. What you may not know is that our Human Resources team, led by Sky Duckett, our Chief Human Resources Officer, and our Deputy General Counsel, Lawrence Warco, they were researching through all of our full-time staff and part-time staff and found upwards of 500 employees who might be impacted by the shutdown because of a spouse or a partner or another household member who helps them make ends meet. As a district with a mission that starts with a caring culture, we jumped in to provide some support. 2 weeks ago, we launched the Shutdown Assistance Program to help these employees. We've identified a number of ways to help, having them register as substitutes, accessing the employee discount program, using the community food bank, and more. Working with Atlanta Partners for Education, our district's foundation, we created a GoFundMe campaign where anyone could make a tax-deductible donation to help employees impacted by the shutdown. The total amount collected will be distributed through Atlanta Partners for Education, and the campaign will ended on Friday, February 1st. And our charge is to distribute that to all the people who applied so that they can get additional support for any other inconveniences they may have experienced during that trying time. And we'd like to thank everyone who contributed to the GoFundMe campaign. Recognition for those teachers whose projects were funded through Donors Choose. Recently, we announced the winners of our Grow Lead Transform mini grants made possible by the generous donation of Southeastern Conference, the CEC, the College Football Playoff Foundation, and DonorsChoose.org. We want to thank our partners who were able to award upwards of $17,000 to fund 41 classroom projects that will benefit our students and teachers. Projects were selected through a scoring process based on alignment to the APS mission, vision, innovation, creativity, and need. A simple rubric was used to score each submission. I'm pleased to announce the winners. There are 41 winners, and they are on the screens. I need someone to move it forward. Chance for folks to read all the names. Is that all of them? Okay, thank you. So congratulations to everyone, and that concludes my remarks for this evening.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Gustafson. Before we move on to the consent agenda and the remaining items for discussion, I wanted to bring special recognition of a former colleague of ours, Mr. Byron Amos, who last week resigned from the school board to run for city council, District 3, and wanted to make sure we said our proper goodbyes to Mr. Amos and wanted to give him a recognition for his service. I have a plaque here, and I want him to come up in just a second to receive this recognition and say just a couple words. But the plaque is a recognition that has some very kind words. I'm going to say a few of them briefly. Whereas Mr. Byron Amos served as a dedicated board member of the Atlanta Board of Education since his election to the board in 2011. Whereas Byron is a native Atlantan and a product of Atlanta Public Schools, attending Bethune Elementary, Kennedy Middle School, and an alumnus of Booker T. Washington High School. The Booker T. Washington High School. Therefore, and then there's a long list of his accomplishments and record of service, both in Vine City, MPUL, and Atlanta Public Schools. Mr. Amos has received several awards and honors for his service, including being recognized as a WATL 36 Unsung Hero, as well as an outstanding Atlantan. Therefore, may it be resolved that on this day, the Atlanta Board of Education expresses sincere and heartfelt appreciation to our respected friend and colleague, Mr. Byron Amos. Mr. Amos, come on up. So say something, and then we'll say something, and then we'll take a picture with you.
Okay. 2 minutes. Of course, I knew exactly what I was going to say until I got here. I guess let me first start off by saying thank you. Thank you to the 9 of you and, of course, the superintendent for being who you are. Over these years, we have developed a professional relationship in which we have really gotten to know each other, was on the way to getting to know each other. And, you know, until you actually take the oath of office and sit behind that desk, you really don't know. You really don't know the tension and the amount of pressure and everything that is bestowed upon you as the elected official to attempt to make the right decision. So I say thank you for accepting that challenge. In regards to District 2, I will ask you to don't let the fact that there's not a person sitting in that seat stop you from making the right decisions and what you know in your heart is the right thing to do. Don't let that stop you from finding the right fit for the principal of Washington High School. Don't let that stop you from completing the work that we started with the equity policy. Don't let that stop you from readjusting the attendance zones to ensure that our under-enrolled schools actually have a fighting chance and actually softening the blows of the 2012 redistricting on the overcrowding schools. So I ask that you continue to pick up the little challenges, that each one of you pick up the challenges of District 2 and champion those challenges until we're able to get another elected official in that seat. Champion those challenges as if I will still be watching you. But last but not least, I issue a challenge to continue to look out for the least of these. They may not be the ones that are elected you, but because I have talked to you and I know your hearts, I know this is the reason for why all of you offer yourself up for service. So to continue to look out for the least of these, we understand that that balancing act of servicing the needs of the have-nots and the wants of the haves is a balancing act, but the equilibrium to that is you as leaders to often understand that historically the have-nots were often victims of the haves, and it's up to you to pull both to the table and figure out how we move this system and this city forward. So as a parent, I stay dedicated in this fight with you. We will maintain a watchful eye, but do not hesitate, please do not hesitate to reach out to me for any words of wisdom, any push, any sound or voice you need in the community. I believe we have done some great work. There's some work we could have done a little differently, but all of you was at least dedicated to at least attempting to do the work, and I say thank you for that. Thank you.
All right. If I can have board members and the superintendent join me up front.
I actually have my family with me. I'd like them to come up as well. One of them already joined me, my granddaughter.
David, can you tell the donors choose people to stay? Donors choose to stay.
thanks again, Byron Amos and family. We appreciate y'all coming out this evening. And Byron, again, thanks for your service. Before we move on to the consent agenda, I want to throw it back to the superintendent for a friendly amendment to her comments.
Yes, I apologize. I was to read all of our Donors Choose folks who I think some are in the audience. If you are here for Donors Choose, can you please stand? Okay, come on down. Come on down. Come all the way down. Come on. And if you wouldn't mind coming all the way up to the mic and saying your name, and I'm going to try to match you to your project. That's a joke. How fast I can do this.
Macy Howard. School?
Spark?
Springdale Park, yeah.
What are you pointing at? David, can I have do you want to name your project?
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't follow directions well, apparently. Mine was progressing our flexible seating with progression tables.
Great. And come on, and as you finish, come on down here.
Hi, I'm Katie Allen from Springdale Park, and it was a carpet for community learning.
Great. You can get behind the ferns.
Bruce Williamson Best Academy is under Mr. W. Interview 101.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Kim Mulheim, also from Springdale Park. It's iPads for the art room, and it's under Miss M.
Oh, I saw that one. An iPad for the art room. Got you.
LaTanya Farrar, Coretta Scott King, and my project was Attendance Matters.
Great.
Good evening, Sadia Baker, Frank L. Stanton Elementary School. Project Read, Learn, Succeed, and Empower Me.
Awesome. Come down, and we're going to grab a picture with y'all as well.
How's it going? I know.
All right, moving on. Dr. Christopherson, can you please present the consent agenda?
Members of the board, I'm pleased to submit consent agenda items 5.01 through 8.02 to the board for approval. I just wanted to, well, yeah, that's it. They're here for final approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve consent agenda 5.01 through 8.01?
So moved.
Been properly moved by Candace Wood Jackson, seconded by Ishay Collins. All right.
Sorry, hold on. I thought I said 8.02. Did I say 8.01 or 2? I thought I said 2. I'm reading 2. No, it's
It's
8.02. And I always go back and look at what we wrote, and then I go back and look at the piece of paper.
Well, I know I said, can I have a motion to approve 8.01, because that's what's on my paper. So,
Right. That's what I heard.
Mr. General Counsel, how can we fix that?
Need to vote on 8.02 under consent. Just vote on 8.02.
It's been properly moved by Leslie Grant, seconded by Ishay Collins. And we can do that by voice vote.
Works for me.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We can now move on to 9.01. The monthly budget adjustment. Is there a motion to approve the proposed adjustments to the FY19 budget? Been properly moved by Nancy Meister, seconded by Cynthia Briscoe Brown. Any discussion? Let's open that vote. Next up is the executive session. Mr. General Counsel, can you report out from that?
Yes, please. I request a motion in Student Discipline Appeal Decision Case Number 2019-3 that the board uphold the decision of the hearing officer.
Been moved by Nancy Meister, seconded by Cynthia Briscoe Brown. Open the vote.
And finally, I request a motion that the Atlanta Board of Education accept the tribunal's findings of fact and recommendation dated December 18, 2018, to terminate the employment of Ms. Watson. That's Ms. Brandy Watson.
Can I get a motion? Been properly moved by Nancy Meister, seconded by Cynthia Briscoe Brown. Open the vote.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now moving on to board resolutions. The first is one on National School Counseling Week. That is 11.01. Can I get a motion? Been properly moved by Nancy Meister, seconded by Leslie Grant. Open the vote. Thank you. Next is 11.02, which is a resolution calling for a special election to fill the vacancy on the Atlanta Public Schools Board of Education. Just to give community members some insight, we are required by our charter to call for a special election to fill the balance of the unexpired term of District 2. We are doing that today. As for the actual date of the election, we are still trying to decide that, so that is to be determined. But as required by our charter, we are officially calling for an election, and we hope to have more details in time for the election to be called in the next few weeks. So stay tuned for that, and then we can have a new District 2 representative. With that, is there a motion to approve 11.02? Been properly moved by Cynthia Briscoe Brown, seconded by Ishay Collins.
Discussion?
Discussion?
I just want to make a note, this resolution, if anyone is reading it online or later, there is a financial impact to this, and I wanted to be sure that we get that on the record tonight. The Board of Education will have to carry the cost of having an election to fill this seat. There's some ifs and thens about when we have that and the potential financial impacts of that, but I just want to make sure that that is on the record tonight as we pass this resolution.
And thanks for raising that, Leslie. The cost will range. Right now, we're estimating approximately $500,000. If we did it on our own, if we did it in conjunction with another election, it would be less than that. But all that depends on the date and what the other elections are on the ballot. As folks should know, in this year, there is no other election that is planned for the city of Atlanta. So if we do it this year, it would be all on APS. So that's part of the consideration. Any other questions, comments? All right. Let's open the vote. Thank you. We will now have a report out from the community meeting.
Thank you, Chair Estevez. Tonight we had 27 speakers to speak at tonight's community meeting. We heard concerns about the closure of Cram High School and its merger with West End Academy. Those public hearings will begin tomorrow at 6 p.m. at Cram High School. We've also heard opposition to charter schools and funding the Know Thyself program at Woodson Park Academy. Came to support and also shared information about the launch of the PTA Reflection Art Program. We also heard concerns about the Creating Condition for Excellent School framework, along with one of our labor unions, AFSCME, advocating for pay raises for transportation employees, as well as job security for cafeteria workers. We also heard from parents in regards to appreciation for the removal of styrofoam and supporting the use of reusable foodware, along with the zero waste cafeteria initiative. We were tonight we were joined by LAPS, the Latino Association of Parents in Public Schools, who's also expressed interest, concerns of making sure that all information is inclusive of Spanish-speaking parents and families, supporting the Creating Conditions for Excellent Schools framework, but also wanted to make sure that we address the language barrier issue. They also sent special thanks to our ESOL department for making sure that there's also translation services available. Our parent group, Atlanta Thrive, joined us, expressed concerns on following up with CRCT remediation and resources. They also support the Conditions for Excellent School framework, but will love more parental support and training and additional resources to gather that parental feedback. And that concludes comments from tonight's community meeting, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much. Next, from the board committees, let's start with budget.
The Budget Commission met January 31st. We heard from Dr. Arthur Ferdinand. He informed us that the assessment should be mailed out on time this year, so citizens should be, or residents should be receiving those in April. We had a recap from the Governor's State of the State. We had a preliminary revenue discussion for the 2020 budget. Our next meeting will be on the 28th at 6 p.m. and it'll be a joint meeting with the Budget Advisory Committee.
Awesome, thank you. Audit?
Yes, we did meet this past Thursday in the morning, and the meetings are live streamed, so if anybody wants to go back and look at those on live stream, you can hopefully catch up. Some of them didn't get put up all the way. But we had one audit report out on our transportation system, and it was a compliance audit, and there's a lot of findings in that, and there were responses that were given at the time. And we are working to figure out our online, the way that our audits are presented online. So that is our goal, to have those up as soon as we can, to make sure that all of the work that's being done by that department is up and available to the public. If anyone wants anything in the meantime, please feel free to reach out to myself or Connie Brown. We discussed services that were offered by the Council of Great City Schools. We've done this in the past with APS, but they'll come in and send a strategic support team in to sort of look at more of an operational performance audit of a system if we would like to do that. So we did encourage the administration to look at a couple of those and perhaps request one of those strategic support teams to come and look. Also discussed the equity audit and sort of where we're at with that, and how we are going to make sure that the lens of equity and the equity policy is worked into our work with the overseeing the Office of Internal Compliance. Anything else that you remember? Next meeting will be the 28th of February at 8:30 a.m. Okay. But again, you can catch up online if you would like to look at those meetings in live stream. Thank you.
Next up is policy.
We also met in January. Tonight, we presented two minor changes to two policies, mostly to accommodate the use of our body-worn cameras. We are hard at work on revising the equity policy, which we will be presenting out at the community over the next several weeks. We're having our next equity task force meeting is February the 11th. Thank you. And then we'll be having our next policy review committee meeting on the 21st at 8:30 in the morning as usual. We also, as of tonight, will start work on a language access policy.
Awesome, thank you. And as part of the finishing up the equity work, Byron was the chair of the equity task force. Essentially, that policy has been handed off to the policy committee anyway. So Cynthia will take the lead in facilitating the next equity meeting to wrap up the equity task force work.
Thank you. And to be clear, that will also include our advisory committee.
Correct.
That task force meeting will include the advisory committee.
Correct. Any report out from board conferences? All right. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn? Been properly moved by Ishay Collins, seconded by Cynthia Briscoe Brown. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.